From Florida to Alaska, from the East Coast to the West Coast. Join Steve and Jane celebrating their 50th anniversary as they explore America in the cool Nana Coach, their 27-foot Thor Freedom Elite motorhome, as they visit the many points of interest in our beautiful country on their golden anniversary adventure. Hi everyone, well, we're starting on this fall 2021 leg of our Golden Anniversary Adventure journey. We're going to head up north to Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island to see the colors of fall. Right now we're on Interstate 95, just entering Volusia County, Florida, headed northbound. Well, as you can see, things have slowed down, some heavy traffic and some rain as we approach Jacksonville, Florida. As our journey continues with stopovers in Savannah, Georgia and Mount Holly, New Jersey, we eventually entered the New York State Thruway in Sloatsburg, New York, continuing on our way toward Bennington, Vermont. Here we are just outside of Albany, New York, where we get off the New York Thruway and swing east on US Route 7, which will take us into Vermont. Our journey to the northeast will bring us first to the town of Bennington, Vermont. Bennington is everything you would imagine Vermont to be, from the quintessential Main Street shops, restaurants, and sidewalk cafes, their vibrant cultural scene, their art galleries and museums. It boasts a thriving community center with a rich history, stunning architecture, locally owned shops, and a small town hospitality. It's been said that Vermont begins in Bennington, home to the Bennington Battle Monument, one of Vermont's most prominent historic sites. The many historic and picturesque covered bridges in the Bennington area are excellent eye candy for the tourists to see. I find the best way to tour an area is to have a car with you. Take your camper to a campground and base camp, and that's exactly what we did. But I gotta tell you, I was a little leery in the very beginning, going down a long, narrow, overgrown, pot-filled dirt road to find a gem in the valley of Bennington. I don't believe I've ever camped at a campground whose address was No Name Road. But I gotta tell you, Howell's camping area was a gem. With its beautiful lake, its gorgeous beach, its floating dock out in the middle of the beach to rest on, and you're free to use canoes, Howell's Camping Resort with full hookups at $25 a night can't be beat. Our first excursion from base camp was to travel down Scenic Route 7 South, approximately 11 miles, to view the historic Bennington Monument. Patriotism flourishes in Vermont. As you pass each of the little towns on the Scenic Route 7, you'll see American flags adorning all the telephone poles. The mostly rural stretch of pavement makes for a fabulous and scenic road trip you'll find on Vermont's Route 7, full of natural beauty, fun towns, and interesting attractions. It starts in Bennington and brings you north as far as Burlington. As we enter the grounds of the monument, we're greeted by a stone statue in memory of Colonel Seth Warner, who resided in Bennington for over 20 years before returning to the home of his birth in Roxbury, Connecticut, where he died in 1784 at the age of 41. Vermont's unique holiday on August 16th is in honor of the Revolutionary War Battle of Bennington. Here, Brigadier General John Stark and his American forces successfully defeated two detachments of British General John Burgoyne's invading army in 1777. Following the battle, Burgoyne wrote to his superior, Lord Germain, "The New Hampshire grants in particular, a country unpeopled and almost unknown in the last war, now abounds in the most active and most rebellious race on the continent, and hangs like a gathering storm on my left." The British plan had been to cut off New England from other colonies. With the British recapture of Fort Ticonderoga and the resulting American evacuation of Mount Independence in Orwell, Vermont, the British advance southward had been temporarily stopped at Hubbardton, the only Revolutionary War battle fought entirely on Vermont soil. This tactical victory gave the colonial forces a chance to regroup and forge the most successful resistance to Burgoyne's plan. The stone for the Bennington Monument was laid 110 years later, on August 16th, 18... Bennington Battlefield State Historic Site is the location of a Revolutionary War battle between Crown forces under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Friedrich Baum and the American forces under General John Stark and Colonel Seth Warner. A detachment from the British General John Burgoyne's army was sent to secure much-needed supplies, including mounts, oxen, carts, and livestock in Bennington, Vermont. American militiamen successfully repelled this force, as well as reinforcement sent to its aid. The British surrendered on October 17, 1777, after 2 unsuccessful battles in Saratoga. The Saratoga campaign has since been identified as the turning point of the Revolutionary War. On August 16, 1777, a cannon like this, a concrete pattern light 3-pounder, named for the weight of the projectile it fired, stood here with a crew of Hessian artillerymen fighting for the British. They were overtaken and killed by the Americans, and the cannon captured. This cannon was presented to the state of New York by the Cassler family in memory of their ancestor, Michael Cassler, a German soldier in Captain Thomae's company of light infantry battalion who fought and was wounded during the Battle of Bennington. In a dispatch, John Stark wrote, "We obtained 4 pieces of brass cannon, 1,000 stands of arms, several Hessian swords, 8 brass drums, and 750 prisoners." The Silk-Covered Bridge is a covered bridge carrying Silk Road across the Walloomsac River between downtown Bennington, Vermont, and the village of North Bennington. A town lattice truss bridge, it was built in 1840 and is one of 3 covered bridges across the river in fairly close proximity. The Paper Mill Village Bridge, also called the Paper Mill Bridge or Bennington Falls Covered Bridge, is a wooden covered bridge that carries Murphy Road across the Walloomsac River, northwest of Bennington, Vermont. Built in 1889, it was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1973. With its natural waterfall, this site was a good source of power for early industry. Improved by dams in 1784 and again in 1889, the river provided power to various industries located, including the paper mill, until about 1958. The paper mill, one of Vermont's first, was one of 2 possible sources for the paper on which Vermont's Constitution was written in 1791. The Bert Henry Covered Bridge, also known as the Henry Covered Bridge or just the Henry Bridge, is a covered bridge that spans the Walloomsac River near Bennington, Vermont. A town lattice truss bridge, it carries River Road just south of the village of North Bennington. The Chisselville Bridge sits high above the water. Once known as High Bridge, the Chisselville Bridge survived the flood of 1927. As you can see by the sign, cars can still be fined $1 if they drive through at a speed faster than a walker's pace. The renowned American painter and illustrator Norman Rockwell lived in Arlington from 1939 to 1953. Moving to this house in 1943, Rockwell employed neighbors as models to create memorable images for calendars, advertisements, and magazines. Iconic pictures like Rosie the Riveter back in 1943 and The Gossips in 1948 were painted at his art studio and published by the Saturday Evening Post. The Arlington Green Covered Bridge is a covered bridge located off Vermont Route 313 in Arlington, Vermont. The town lattice truss bridge carries Covered Bridge Road over the Battenkill. It was built in 1852 and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1973. It is one of Vermont's oldest surviving covered bridges. It is located directly down the road from Norman's Retreat, offering beautiful, inspirational landscape visions for Rockwell's paintings. With our visit to the Bennington area completed, we leave Howell's camping area in Arlington, Vermont to our next base camp destination. Traveling north on historic Route 7A, we turn to the equally scenic Route 100 and travel approximately 90 miles to our new base camp located in Quechee Gorge State Park in White River Junction, Vermont. Quechee State Park is located along U.S. Route 4, and its proximity to many Upper Valley attractions make the park a popular tourist destination. Hundreds of thousands of visitors stop each year to take in the breathtaking views of the Quechee Gorge. Other visitors seeking an overnight stay enjoy the easy access to the park's spacious campsites. Of course, the focal point of the park is Vermont's deepest gorge, formed by glacial activity approximately 13,000 years ago. Visitors can look down at the Quechee River flowing 165 feet below viewing points along Route 4, especially on the bridge. And of course, they have the obligatory well-stocked gift shop. We now head west on Route 4 toward Woodstock, Vermont, in search of the historic Taftsville Waterfall and Bridge. The Taftsville Covered Bridge is a timber-framed covered bridge which spans the Quechee River in the Taftsville village of Woodstock, Vermont. Built in 1836 and exhibiting no influence from patented bridge designs, it is among the oldest remaining covered bridges both in Vermont and the nation as a whole. Unlike many extant covered bridges which are based upon patented bridge designs, the Taftsville Bridge reflects an earlier craftsman bridge building tradition that was possibly influenced by designs found in Switzerland. While the incorporation of laminated arches in the bridge structure is generally indicative of the well-known Burr arch truss, which was patented in the United States in 1817, the resemblance is purely superficial. Instead, the unusual design of the Taftsville Bridge is better described as a modified multiple king post truss with semi-independent arches. The village of Taftsville was settled more than 70 years before the construction of the modern Taftsville Bridge. Stephen Taft, after whom the village was ultimately named, arrived in the early 1790s. Within a decade of Taft's arrival, he and his brother had established a number of mills, and the increasingly busy settlement required a bridge over the Quechee River. The first bridge was washed away during a flood in 1807. The second bridge failed in 1811. When the third bridge at the site was again washed away during an 1828 flood, a distinguished local by the name of Solomon Emmons III was contracted to build a more resilient crossing. His timber-framed covered bridge was completed in 1836 and still stands today as the modern Taftsville Bridge. As always, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed sharing our journey from the southern point of Vermont and Bennington as we continue north toward the state capital of Montpelier and in Burlington and the Lake Champlain area on our next episode as our journey continues on Jane and Steve's Golden Anniversary Adventure.